It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey guys, Tyler here. The state of Louisiana has decided to put the 10 Commandments in every single public school.
This bill mandates the display of the 10 Commandments in every classroom in public, elementary, secondary, and post-education schools in the state of Louisiana. Because if you want to respect the rule of law, you got to start from the original lawgiver, which was Moses.
That's right.
Amen.
All right.
God gave, Moses received.
There's like a lot of different aspects for this particular topic that I need to address. The first claim in the video was the fact that Moses was actually real and that he got the 10 Commandments directly from God. Not only is the idea of a historical Moses completely unfounded, but also the idea of the 10 Commandments is also unfounded, largely because we have no such archaeological evidence to actually suggest that there's actually stone tablets that's known as the 10 Commandments. We do have evidence, however, that was actually inspired by ideas and also works such as the Code of Hammurabi that predates the whole entire book of Genesis, and also for the case of the book of Exodus. But otherwise, we have no such historical evidence to suggest that the 10 Commandments actually was real. There was actually a comment on my page that basically argued and stated that the laws that we have in the United States are more or less based upon the ideas of the 10 Commandments. But again, that's just simply not true. Let's take, for example, I am your Lord thy God. Thou shalt not worship any other gods before me. Thou shalt not make any graven image. Those 3 commandments alone are antithetical to the First Amendment because basically we allow the worship of different gods and not just the Christian one. We allow artistic expression of religious figures, and basically that commandment goes against the idea of making artistic expression right there. And there's even people like me who don't necessarily worship any type of God whatsoever, so I don't accept the premise that I am the Lord thy God for that particular commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Again, adultery is not necessarily illegal in the United States. Whether adultery is actually immoral is a separate question on whether or not adultery is not necessarily permitted by law. And so in terms of the law, there's actually no law that basically requires a person to go to jail because of adultery. That's like another thing. When it comes down to resting on the Sabbath, now there are some businesses that might close on the Sabbath, sure, but it's not necessarily mandated for all businesses to close on the Sabbath if they don't necessarily want to. And so like a lot of laws that's been written down for the taste of the 10 Commandments are not necessarily, you can say, based upon them at all. When it comes down to the religious denominations of Christianity, many Christians pay through the tithing system. And basically the tithing system is more or less to maintain the maintenance of many Christian churches throughout the whole entire country, and to also use the tithing money for charities. Now, why is it that it's actually, okay to basically force non-Christians to pay their own personal tithing when it comes down to religious symbols? It is one thing if a private school uses their money for religious symbols, or if a parent uses their own personal money for religious symbols in their household. That's a whole entire separate issue. But why should I be forced to pay for religious symbols if I don't necessarily approve of religious symbols or necessarily don't support religious organizations? Why should I use my own taxpayer money to basically pay for that? Not to mention, there was actually a contract between the parents and the teachers that we're going to have a neutral learning environment when it comes down to the issue of educating their kids. Because it's not just Christians that actually go to public schools. There's also non-Christians that also go to public schools too. And they cannot necessarily force a non-Christian in that particular public environment to actually be participating in religious activities or promoting one religion over the other. Now, there's actually a growing concern on the issue about LGBT activism in schools, where more or less the teachers are forcing the gay flag in their classroom and want to be activists in schools to target kids. Now, on that particular issue, I would agree. It's not necessarily appropriate for teachers to be activists, no matter their background, whether if the cause is actually good or not. The whole purpose of a school is to educate students and not to force them to think a certain way for that particular environment. And so I'm against LGBT activism for the case of public schools, and I'm against the idea, the notion of promoting one religion over the other for the case of public schools. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. I wouldn't trade him for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.